Here's an exciting new segment. Marianne, what is in your memo today?
I have a few words to say. I think a lot of Americans are starting to ask themselves, what the hell is going on around here? And well, they should. There has never been, in the history of our country, a direct assault on our government like this. It isn't a military assault by land or air or sea. It's a political and economic assault by a small group of people who, for deeply nefarious purposes, are gutting the U.S. government. President Bill Clinton cut the federal workforce by hundreds of thousands of people through a responsible, gradual, and deliberative process. Elon Musk and DOGE, however, are simply, with no knowledge of how government works or even what it does, taking a hammer to our federal agencies. They are causing all manner of trauma to our civil servants, which, according to their ally Russ Vought at the Office of Management and Budget, is precisely their intent. Weather forecasting is being stymied, which will drastically diminish the capacity of local governments to serve their communities. Public lands are being sapped of the professionals who cared for them, all the easier to allow bad actors to sell off our precious national resources. In Sudan and Ethiopia, warehouses full of food cannot reach 150,000 starving mothers and children because DOGE stopped the process. It's hard to fathom how one individual so wealthy that he could feed millions of starving people is instead bragging about withholding all that food from those who need it in order to survive. Though Secretary of State Marco Rubio says that that food should go out, and now the Supreme Court does, as part of this life-saving waiver, even Rubio apparently has no power over the unvetted, unelected, and unscrupulous Elon Musk. 12% of the Social Security workforce is slated to be fired as well, which will imperil the delivery of Social Security checks to millions of people who rely on those checks for food to eat and a bare minimum of dignity. The Trump administration has also canceled thousands of contracts that funded malaria prevention, polio vaccine initiatives, tuberculosis treatments, Ebola surveillance, and hospitals and refugee camps. We are dismantling a vast humanitarian network that has saved millions of lives and that every American should feel proud of. And my God, I ask you, for what? What is the question? That is the question we need to ask ourselves. And in no universe does it make sense to say, so we can cut out the fat. Musk and his cronies aren't just cutting out the fat. They're cutting into the bone marrow. They aren't repairing a broken system. They are destroying it. And they know it. Mr. Musk and his gang of computer techies are not responsible servants of the public good. They are destructive, cruel, and dangerous purveyors of whatever plot they've got going. Millions of people at this point are clearly concerned, convinced we're experiencing a coup, awake to the techno-billionaire-sponsored takeover that seeks to replace our democracy with a barely disguised soft dictatorship. People do see this. Some say, at this point, there's nothing we can do. I've talked to some who are planning to move to Costa Rica, to Canada, to Portugal, or elsewhere. And many are simply going about their lives, living as they did before, but in a state of deep and quiet panic, with an inestimable sorrow and prayer that somehow this will reverse itself. I think it will. Americans are often distracted by shallow things, but we're not stupid. We can be slow to wake up to a problem, but then we're ready to deal with it magnificently once we do. What I see is a nation in process. I see the wheels spinning. I see a vast inchoate intelligence beginning to emerge among us. It's forging within us a new Americanism, the kind of appreciation you can feel for something only when you realize you're at risk of losing it. And from this will emerge a new America. Yes, Elon Musk is rich beyond imagining, but that doesn't make him all-knowing. He knows engineering, he knows cars, he knows rockets, he knows how to build things, and he knows how to destroy things, but he doesn't know us.
So you describe the process happening as a coup. I think the conservative response to that would be, no, the coup has taken place over the last 100 years of giving power processes that should have been decided and resolved in the common square through democratic norms, of shifting that to a permanent federal bureaucracy that makes policy independent of which party's in power, independent of who you vote for, the bipartisan foreign policy consensus actually being operated by the defense industry and lobbyists and
we agree
generals.
on the military industrial
That's what
complex.
we do, and I hope Elon Musk gets to defense. We've heard rumors that there's going to be defense is going to get DOGE too, and I'm going to be all for it because again, conservatives say that was the coup. This is the unwinding of the coup,
So
of now giving Trump and the people, we voted for Trump, and he is relying on the advice of outside parties to shrink the government back to its core mission as envisioned in our founding.
It was Bill
We would not say that that's a coup. We would say that's democratic.
Democratic
We're
President
making it
Bill
democratic.
Clinton got rid of 450,000
And I
jobs.
like him for
So
it.
this has not been a coup on the part of Democrats. When government becomes bloated, then it is absolutely reasonable for any president of either party to say, we're pulling this back in a deliberative process, as we've discussed about. I don't see Elon Musk as someone we should necessarily consider the outside expert when he knows nothing about government. He said to his techie gang here, if you see a regulation that sounds dumb, get rid of it. These people know nothing. Robbie, how can you nod your head at that? They don't know what these regulations, what has to do with safety, what has to do with taking care of the environment, what has to do with taking care of our oceans or our lands.
People doing the regulating?
Pardon?
Do the regulators
Yes, they
know?
do.
The regulators,
Why are you assuming that these people who work in these agencies know nothing?
I guess why are
you
assuming that
demonizing these
everyone
people as though they know nothing?
Well, I'm not
These are
demonizing
people
them.
who have had spectacular job performances, many of them, and are being cruelly fired. You're inept at your job, you're irresponsible, you don't know what you're doing, when they received spectacular job reviews. Why are we necessarily assuming that Musk is
I'm not talking about
correct?
the employees who are usually just following the orders given to them by people overseeing bureaucratic agencies. I'm not even talking about the people, but our country, the health of our citizenry is being stifled by excessive regulation. It is so hard to start a business. It is so hard to build a new house, to build homes.
That
the
balance is
cost
necessary.
of building a new home. This is one of the major issues for young people. Is why we were talking about intergenerational warfare the other. It is harder than ever to buy a home because the housing supply is artificially constrained by regulation, Marianne, by regulation
In some
on every
cases,
aspect of the process.
You just said that our health is worse because of regulations.
Yes.
Our health is worse because lack of safety and health regulations. When it comes to buying a home and some of these economic barriers, you're absolutely right. You know, Eisenhower said the American mind at its best is liberal and conservative. This is supposed to be a both and here, not an either or, but neither of us should be happy about somebody with a hammer who doesn't respect this government, doesn't respect our democracy, and clearly knows nothing about a constitutional system. None of us should be excited about him taking that hammer to our government
I think it's
and
a
to the way our
chainsaw,
government works.
not a hammer. I think it's a chainsaw.
Well, it is a chainsaw. Forgive me, Elon. Chainsaw. Even worse.
Thank you very much, Marianne. Next up on Rising, BlackRock struck a deal to buy ports in the Panama Canal. We'll discuss. Stay with us.